band in Trinidad.
Yo!
Yo, check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
God damn it! Hey,
Bad boy.
you know we crazy.
This is Burdie,
And this is Barney.
and this is the Burdie and Barney rebooted.
This is just the Burdie and Barney show.
Yeah, I know you all missed us. That would be March 24th, right? Let's explain what happened, right?
Firstly, missed might be a stretcher.
It's really technical, right?
Or lack thereof on a certain person's part.
Let's just say that our producer and goalkeeper, Corey, made a great save. VAR overturned it. And here we are now, all cleared up.
I ain't not gonna not to that.
Right, nothing to add, Barney. Okay. I mean, if you think Jovan Jones' penalty was confuffling, you should have been in the studio about 2 weeks ago. Is what I say.
It was more painful though, for sure.
What we missed since our last podcast, Barney? What happened in the world since then?
Well, a lot of things happen in the world, but the sporting world you're talking about, or the world in general? Because I have a lot of issues that I want to express.
We don't have time to go through Barney's
right.
issues today.
Since last we were here, Trinidad and Tobago had 2 World Cup qualifying games. We won the first one 3-0 against Guyana, and we drew on the road to Puerto Rico.
Plus a press officer get but.
We had a show. Oh no, that's the show that you and well, you're saying it's Corey, but it's really you. Erased. All right, cool. Yeah.
All right. For listeners who not too current, like that word, Barney.
Yes, buddy.
With the World Cup qualifying campaign, let me try to explain it a little bit more depth than the technical issue. Right. So in Concacaf, where we have 3 spots plus a half spot, that's a playoff. 5 nations qualify directly to the final round based on the FIFA ranking.
Which replaces the hex.
Which replaces the hex before.
Yeah.
Right? This time is the final group is 8 teams. The 5 teams that are already there, we have Mexico, United States of America, Jamaica, Costa Rica, and Honduras. The other 30 nations split into 6 group of 5. How you like my match, Stebani?
Well, it's good. But not all 30 playing, as we do.
Well, one withdrawal. St. Lucia didn't make it to the starters.
They didn't make it or they didn't want to go.
Yeah. They pulled out early. No.
Ways, but this X-rated now.
We're already talking about the Warriors lack penetration in the last game. St. Lucia pull out early. Anyway, it's not that kind of show. All right? So, in any case, these 29 nations have to play 2 rounds of qualifiers with 3 teams going forward to meet the 5 fancy dons that are already there in the last phase of qualifying.
When you say 2 rounds of qualifiers.
Because after this group stage,
All right.
there's a second round and so on, right?
Yeah.
So, a note on that, FIFA has 6 confederations who all hold qualifiers to determine which nations go to the World Cup. In 5 of them, every nation starts in the same phase of qualifying and plays the same amount of qualifying games to get to the World Cup.
But we have a special group.
In Concacaf, the most populous area in Concacaf being the Caribbean, 25 out of 35 members have to earn the right to face Mexico and the United States on the football field.
Feel free to reach out to your CFU delegate and thank them for this position.
Yeah. So there you go. You know, everyone is not equal in CONCACAF, and Trinidad will be among the other 29 teams trying to share a field with the United States, essentially, and Mexico.
CONCACAF teaching us Animal Farm 101.
Football appetite. I didn't say that. I don't know if anybody might say that. I didn't say that. And by the way, when David John Williams was voted in 2015, the Soca Warriors were ranked 4th in CONCACAF and 49th in the world. So we would have actually been one of those
top 5.
Top 5 nations just kicking their feet up right now and relaxing and playing some friendlies. So shout out to DJW for your work in reversing everything that Stephen had, all the gains made on the coach hat.
Feel free to also, the other guys who played along with that, feel free to jump and shout too.
Yeah.
You have us where you want us.
And that shout out should be sponsored by attorney Anand Misir, who is probably sending me a pre-action protocol letter on Tuesday.
For Burdie, boss. Let me make this clear. All pre-action protocols go to Burdie.
So there's 6 groups of 5 now. Well, of course, one has a country missing, decided to sit it out. It's only every 4 years, no big deal.
What we will do with all this money FIFA give us in the interim, boy, for the next 4 years, boy.
Well. So Group A, El Salvador, being the seeded team, Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, Montserrat, and U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, why that group is important as well is because if we qualify on top of our group, we face the winner in Group A. So you heard it again, El Salvador, Antigua, Grenada, and Montserrat, and it's a real toss-up between those 4 right now. Anybody could make it, with U.S. Virgin Islands being there to, take licks.
They have to have 5 in the group. I am thankful that they're there. They didn't take the route of St. Lucia.
St. Lucia.
Right.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Group F with the Soca Warriors. We also have St. Kitts and Nevis. Right now, they are 2 points clear in the group. Trinidad and Tobago being the only seeded team right now that's trailing on points. Guyana, Puerto Rico, and Bahamas. In Group B, we have Canada, Suriname, who just got a busload of players from Europe.
Quality players too.
Football migrants, we call them. Bermuda, Cayman Islands, and Aruba. The winner from that group plays the winner from Group E, which is Haiti, Nicaragua, Belize, Turks and Caicos Islands. St. Lucia had the withdrawal from there. Haiti is also on a normalization, by the way, like Trinidad and Tobago. And maybe a little bit iffy so far in the start, but they're still up there. They have a decent group, I guess, to deal with. Fighting for the right to, probably get roughed up by Canada or Suriname because those teams look kind of immense right now.
The Canada-Suriname group is going to go down to the last game. The other 2 teams are not of that quality. So it's going to go down to the very last game which is Canada's last game, which is Suriname's last game. So that's going to be the decider. I'm looking forward to that game, actually.
Yeah. I mean, Canadians very excited about the team. It's a sort of golden generation. What do you think, Barney?
I saw them dismantle Cayman Islands. Yeah, I saw the second half of that
Double
game.
figures.
Yeah, 11. I saw the second half of that game. They have a very athletic team. They have pace to burn on the wings, of Alphonso Davies being one of those players. But I like what I saw in Suriname. My issue with Suriname, or the question mark with Suriname, is whether or not the physicality that the Canadians are bringing to the table with their game, if they could deal with it. But in terms of the technical ability, Suriname, I would advise anybody to take a look at them.
Yeah.
One thing to add, one fun point for people to look out for with Suriname. Apai was Apai's first name.
Dimitri Apai.
Dimitri Apai, who played for W Connection.
Yeah.
He is on that squad. So even if it is we may not advance, we still have another team.
You're taking some pride in that.
Yeah. I grasping at anything right now that Trini.
Okay.
That have a Trini connection to it.
I hope he's not owed any money from the Pro League.
Oh gosh, let's go on to the next group, brother.
Group C, Curacao, Guatemala, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Cuba, the British Virgin Islands. You would think normally that group should be fairly even. It doesn't seem to be right now because Curacao with what's Gus Hiddink?
Gus Hiddink.
Mm-hmm. And they're getting on bad.
Who sits on his chair for the duration of the game that I saw against St. Vincent when they won 5-0 with his legs crossed, if you could have blanked out the background, you'd believe this man was having tea. So calm he was.
Yeah. And under his feet would probably be the dreams of the former Curacao coach who actually asked the Curacao FA if he could bring in Hiddink as an advisor, and instead Hiddink took his job.
That's how it goes.
So all we can hope is that at the end of that, Hiddink takes Curacao to the World Cup. He took the man's hopes and dreams already, you know. But that is Group C. In Group D, the winner from Group C facing the winner of Group D. Now we have Panama. This is an interesting group. Dominican Republic, Barbados, Dominica, and Anguilla. And why that is interesting, Barney?
Because Panama is a nice destination. Though it's interesting because we have two Trinidad and Tobago.
You throw away one Trinidadian there. Which one you throw away? Barbados, Dominica, and Anguilla. You throw away somebody.
Right. Sorry. Honest mistake. Mm-hmm. We have 3 Trinidad coaches.
He's still trying to get back at Russell Atapi. We know why.
Hey.
We know why the trauma in the secondary school football league feels.
You can't get between me and my boy, so don't do that. Don't try to do that. Yeah, we have 3 Trinidad and Tobago coaches in that group. Russell Atapi coaching Barbados. Stern John coaching Anguilla. Mm-hmm. And Rajesh Lachu coaching Dominica. Mm-hmm. So far, I have not gotten the opportunity to see Dominica, but from the results that I am seeing and having spoken to Coach Lachu previously, I want to tip my hat to him from the results I'm seeing, because they played against Dominican Republic.
They played against Panama and Dominican Republic.
Right.
Yes.
They played against Panama, who's the number 1 seed in the group.
Yeah.
And they lost 1-0, I believe.
Yeah. Let me just
and 2-1 to Dominican Republic. Or is it the other way around?
They lost they lost 1-0 to the Dominican Republic in the first game, and then 2-1 to Panama. And I mean, against Panama up to the 82nd minute, it was 1-1. And right. they looked like a draw could happen. In the 85th minute, Dominica lost that match. 5 minutes left. You know, it would have been a great result.
Yeah. The same with...
Fantastic result, actually.
Yeah. The same with Barbados. I did get to see Barbados play Panama. And Barbados is organized. They don't have that great amount of quality going forward, but they were organized. And same thing... Like with Dominica holding on, Barbados was 0-0 up until the
82nd minute.
The 82nd minute. And they got a goal scoring on them from, was it a set play, boy? Yes, it was.
A corner.
Yeah,
I think it was.
I
think it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or am I tying up the Barbados
Anguilla game,
boy?
Might have been a cross, but a late dagger to the heart anyway for Barbados.
And it was a great effort, but it was unfortunate that happened to Barbados then. And then Barbados went on to play Anguilla and do the same thing to Stern John's team after they had rebounded from a thrashing in the first game.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Anguilla lost 6-0 to the Dominican Republic in their first game.
Right. So it was a great effort, I think, to get your team back up and ready to compete so soon after that sort of score. And again, Stern did a great job in terms of the defensive setup. They sat deeper. They sat deeper and made it more difficult for Barbados to penetrate. And they tried to play on the counter. The thing about it is when they tried to play is when they looked like if they could concede. Mm-hmm. So again, is a matter of the what these guys are working with. But hats off to the 3 of them so far with, the efforts that they've put out with their teams.
Yeah, and to the credit of Anguilla as well, it's not as though Barbados were creating chances and missing and so on. It was pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And they lost our set play.
Yeah.
They lost our set play.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we would have a story on Latipi. Speaking of Latipi and Latruin, who are at 868 right now. We do plan to have Latipi on the pod as soon as Barney can get close to him. He has been trying. Has been trying for about 30 years now.
I'm trying to get the producer's attention here. Why are paying for any advertising spots on this thing? This man just blatantly advertising here. What's going on? What's going on? I have a family to feed. What's going on?
Cut his mic there, Corey. Cut his mic. Yes. So, Trinidad and Tobago, after 2 games, we are unbeaten still. Our qualifying campaign still in our own hands. So, the glass half empty or half full. To help us provide context, we're going to try to get Fatima College Technical Director Hayden Martin. He holds a KNVB coach and instructor's license, and he did give analysis again on why they take it, because this is where you go. This is where you go for all things football and all things intelligent.
I'm going out for a water break. I'll come after this. I can't take this.
So let's get Hayden on the phone. Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes. Hayden, thanks for being on with us, the Burdie and Barney show.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, you said that Trinidad and Tobago's second performance of the group was better than the first. Yes?
Yeah, it was, in certain respects, it was different.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I mean, in a result-oriented world, we always tempted to think that whichever performance produces the results is the right one. So you'd have to explain this alien concept of winning while doing the wrong thing, which might be alien to a lot of do I say uneducated football fans? There must be a softer word for that, Barney. Give me something nicer.
Trinidadian football fans.
Well, the thing about it, if it was a one-off, mm-hmm. and there were no games to follow, and there were no other teams to play against that might be better, then that would suffice. But the point about it, you could be awful and win, and sometimes the opponent is worse than you, so you win, but you're not really up to scratch. And then there's another scenario where they in fact did better than you, but you just happen to capitalize on whatever chances fell to you, and they didn't, so you win. Mm-hmm. You know, but you have to look at the bigger picture, especially when in something like a World Cup qualifier, that one game is not the be all and end all. You ought to be thinking, what would happen when we come up against the teams that have qualified out of the group stage? Mm-hmm. Are going to be, miles above your present opponent that you're playing now. So you want to be getting to your best then.
Yeah.
In other words, speaking, you want to be building on what you started with and getting incrementally better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You see, here's an interesting point too, right? That and it relates to what Lazana opened the program with. That in a results-oriented thing, once they get the win, then you ought to be satisfied. You know, but the thing about it is that this is a qualifier, mm-hmm. and you don't want to be playing. I would be particularly worried if I do a tournament or even a season, and your very first game is your best performance. It means you will only go down after that.
Fair enough.
So you don't want to be playing too well, too early. But again, you want to set something where you could be building from.
I think Coach Fenwick had that covered. Certainly didn't do too well in the first game.
The flip side to that, Hayden, is that in the World Cup qualifiers, how they are basically set up, you're really playing 2 mini tournaments. So you're playing 2 games. Yeah. And where I hear you in terms of building to your best, you really don't have time to work on correcting what's wrong between those 2 games. And you want to come out of those 2 games as much as possible with 6 points. So I hear you with what you're saying, and I totally agree with you. But in this scenario, I think that the result, because of the time frame of the second game to the first game, the distance, that you almost have to hit the ground running, bam, bam, for both games. What did you see in the first game from your coach's eye that you thought was lacking?
Well, first he should just analyze the first game for us.
All right.
Against Guyana, and then give us your insight in terms of that.
Well, I didn't rate Guyana very high technically. Maybe one or two players. I was particularly impressed with one of the centre backs. I think his name is Van Kooten.
Yes, plays in the English Championship.
He is a player. But other than that, I think the Guyana team was, a level, if not a level two below. Not everybody, but player per player, team per team. I thought on a bad day we would have been better than them anyway. Having said that, though, you're still in a game and you still have to win your game. It appeared to me in retrospect, that, and I'm guessing here, this is what it appeared to me, that Fenwick's approach was, listen, today, just get the result to give us a good start as far as the point standing is concerned. I don't think he was too concerned, at least the team didn't play that way, too concerned about displaying any play concept or anything like that. It was just, listen, let us get the ball forward. If we could get Levi to cut in and get a couple shots on, and see if we could get the win. So because when I look at the Guyana game, and I looked at the second game, that it was, in a way, kind of, the whole approach was different. In fairness to TNT, I would say in the Puerto Rico game, they tried to play, which is more than I've said for that first game. To me, it was get it long. We don't succeed with the first pass, fall into somebody behind the defense. Let us win the second ball. We win it at the back. Okay. Play it around a little bit and then long again. So it was clear to me it was to get the ball up the field and see if we can get on the score sheet and start off with the 3 points. And don't worry too much about, style of play and playing brand and all. This is what it looked like.
No, although we got the win against Guyana, and a resounding win, I suppose, did those tactics actually work, or did the goals come from something else?
Well, you got the ball at the other end of the field, and then things happen.
Okay.
I didn't find that approach brought us any abundance of success, because I think we were fortunate to get the 3 goals in the first place, although it should have been 4 with the penalty. So it's hard to say that it didn't work, because one might argue, yeah, but you won the game. But I don't think it brought the kind of success that it could have brought if it was working as a strategy, if you know what I mean. So yes, from the point of view, we got the ball at the other end of the field and something happened. But I can't say that, well, the long pass was working because we had the keeper making saves. Had we had a couple more shots on target, the scoreline would have been far different. The guy, I don't want to judge him. He made some good saves, but I don't think that it had them under the kind of pressure in terms of defending the goal, as a strategy. But we got the ball to the other end of the field.
Mm-hmm. And Guyana did change goalkeeper for the second match, by the way.
What was the adjustment you thought was necessary watching the Guyana game? And did you think that the Puerto Rico game was a reflection of those adjustments, or did he go with something totally different?
Or the team go with something totally different?
Did he go with something totally different? Lasana trying to get into stuff that I have no information on. So I sticking with the coach.
I think the approach was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is something that they thought out. And from the beginning, the approach to the game was, outlined. We're going to do this differently, and I'll tell you what jumped out at me. In the Guyana game, I find for me personally, I am not too much for this early penetration pass from deep in the half, because for me there are too many factors that may not be under your control. You're depending on pace,
variables,
and not always you will be faster than the defenders. And if they can't play a little bit and they're reading the long ball, which Guyana started to do after a while in that first game, then they're not going to be enjoying that success. So I do not subscribe to penetrating too early. But what came out at me in the second game, that they were actually trying to get the ball, particularly in the second half, get the ball into the next half of the field and play a little bit. And I thought they did that, which it was not totally absent, but it was more the exception than the rule in the Guyana game. In the Puerto Rico game, it was more the rule than the exception.
If I ask Martin, and stay on the first half, because I'm guessing that first half would have been plan A for the coach. How successful were the tactics for Trinidad and Tobago in that first half?
Well, I think too, and I mentioned it in the article, the personnel, with the one change that he made on the half, it sort of bore fruit, and they were able now to do what they were trying to do in the first half. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, how successful they were not as consistent with that possession in the attacking half of the field as they were in the second half. But they were attempting to do it. They were taking the time and they were trying to get the ball there and play a little bit, but not to the extent that they were successful in the second half.
All right. So you spoke about the attempts to hold possession in the half, in the attacking half, right?
Yes.
We both know that teams do that to open up, to create an opening in the opposing defense, to then play that penetrating ball. I didn't see many attempts at that in the first half. Yes, they put the attempts at the possession and even the second half. But until Muckett came on at the half, although we were attempting to keep possession, we weren't attempting to penetrate.
No, I didn't find so as well. And I think I mentioned that. And that is what I meant when I said, like, what's supposed... Okay, so we get up, we keep it, we switch it, we introduce it, we keep it. What's supposed to happen? Who's supposed to be doing that penetration, making the penetration runs off the ball? What's supposed to happen? Are we looking for 1-2 to try and go through the middle? Are we looking to send somebody through on a through ball? What are we trying to do? And to me, it was, we keep it, and eventually the ball will go wide, maybe to Levi. And this is what I mentioned. After a while, things become predictable, that yes, he is going to go to the byline, but then again, he must come back on the left foot to try and play a ball maybe to the top of the box, or if he could open up the angle a little bit to get the shot. That was all that there was. So the possession, when we get there, things supposed to happen. You're getting the people forward. I saw somebody made a comment that about players we are getting people forward, but they're not doing anything when they get forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Go ahead. You look to see, like, okay, I also mentioned we get the ball on the wide. We have people forward, but you're not seeing, at least not consistently, like, look, people lining and getting in a position to line up for an incoming cross, it doesn't appear to as if the players are quite sure what happens next, what's supposed to happen when we reach up there. Are we setting somebody at the top of the box for a shot? I saw they attempted that a couple of times, but it cannot be the only thing. And the person coming on to hit the shot, not coming on to hit the shot as if they're expecting, well, listen, we work on this, the ball is played back, and I know what I'm coming to go top corner or what. It more look like, okay, this is the play at the moment, so we do it. As compared to, what are we actually looking for? Why are we keeping possession in their half? What are we looking to do? I didn't think that was very clear to me. So that is an area definitely that they would have to work on.
And one more thing, as you mentioned, the change of tactics, which appear to suit Muckett better against Puerto Rico, or he thrived. Now, a lot of people felt Daniel Phillips had a good debut against Guyana. Is it that you felt the tactics used against Guyana suited Phillips better than the style against Puerto Rico, or was it just
quality of opponent? Could be part
or I mean, I know we're still learning this young fella. We don't know him as a player that much, but what do you think accounts for the change in his effectiveness, let's say, over the two games?
It could be that. It could be that he is not the type of player who, looks for the ball coming back to him, or maybe make a short run to get it from the midfielders. It appears to me as if he prefers to be facing the goal. Same thing with Tevin, he prefers to be facing the goal. So I think the change in tactics might have not be, what he's comfortable with. As I say, I don't know these guys very well. I don't know what they practice. I don't know what the plan is. But I kept looking at him, and I kept looking at Telfer to see when we have possession of the ball, what are they doing? And, I mean, it doesn't appear to me as if they're actually looking for or expecting the ball to be played into them, which again would mean that you're playing with your back to the goal. It didn't look that way to me. So I am thinking maybe he prefers to be facing the goal, to get the ball turned and be facing the goal.
I mean, you made a point about Telfer. Now, Telfer started off as a winger for us under Dennis Lawrence. I thought maybe it is his physique and so on. Maybe because we haven't had a number 9 since Kenwin Jones. So
okay.
I also, as much as Fenwick put him there, I also was hoping to see something from him, up front. You felt he still lacked a lot of the things he needed to do for his team as a forward. That's fair assessment.
Well, certainly as a 9.
As a 9, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly as a 9, because I'll tell you what I look for. I mean, I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine, and he was telling me that the disadvantage that I was seeing the game on TV. Mm-hmm. So I can't see the whole field. I am limited in my view. It's up to what the camera affords me. But I tend to look to see what is happening, and if I'm not seeing it, that the game goes on and your name is never called because you're not getting the ball. So I don't know if you're running a liver string out and they're not giving it to you, but you're not getting on the ball. And the only time that, to me, Telfer appears to get on the ball is if he goes on sometimes a diagonal run and the ball is in front of him and he is running safe with a defender, in attendance. They saw it a lot against Guyana. And to me, his strength is strong physically. And his other strength is that he likes to run with the ball. He's that sort of forward. Chase the ball, get the ball, try to cut in and go to goal. Mm-hmm. And which would sort of be reflected in what you said about him being a winger, because the cross he made for us to get the goal, mm-hmm. that was perhaps the one and only thing that you could credit him for in the match. I mean, I'm going out on a limb here based on what I saw as a number 9. Mm. As a number 9, he's not enough to me in the game. Or the same thing against Guyana, he's not enough in the game as a 9. And I think it's because that if you're building up, he is the target. That's the way. That is my understanding. He triggers everything as the 9. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that is happening. To me, it looks as whatever we do, invariably, we want the ball to end up with Levi Garcia. Mm-hmm. Right? Even the long balls against Guyana, none of those balls, at least in the first half, in the second half, a little bit against Guyana, that those balls were aimed at Telfer, and that he got on the end of it. So I mean, as I say, I don't know what Terry's plan is. If that is the way he wants him to play, I don't know what he did say. He hasn't revealed what his concept is, except that it's going to be one that suits us. I am not sure what that means, but I think if we're gonna play a build-up game, then you need to have a 9 that can serve as a target, and I don't see Ryan as that at all. As I say, I don't know if he is running off, freeing himself and they're just not playing it into him. To me, it seems as though a lot of the balls that played into that central area goes to Kaleem. So
I think coming out of the USA game, I don't believe we are going to be playing balls down the center. Because in that game, when the balls were played down the center, and it kind of adds into what you're saying. Telfer is a physical guy, but he was never winning that battle with the US defenders, central defenders there. I think the plan is to go down the channels either side of the stoppers. So that's why you would see Levi on one side and Joven on the other side, being the ones closer to that initial long ball. But even after that, when we win the ball back and we in that half of the field, you're not seeing what you are asking for, which is that ball into the 9 to trigger something coming off of that. You're not seeing. So I'm in total agreement with you there. I wasn't seeing that either.
No, the coach has been saying for a while that he has several foreign players that he wants to bring in. I suppose you're saying a 9 should probably be on the wish list. You think our main issue right now, though, is just the quality of the players on the field? You think that once that is sorted out, we got to go?
Well, I wouldn't know. It would certainly give us a little extra something. I mean, they have some positions that I think you could get. You require a lot more from. I mentioned also the wing back. I mean, Neville is a good, strong player, but part of an important part of his job it's not being done. He, doesn't have it in him. I imagine that we need to get somebody a little more mobile and a little more adventurous than that.
You say he's not pushing far enough ahead to help out the attack?
In the game today, that flank position is shared by the wing back and the wide forward. Either the wide forward stays wide and the wing back would go inside. As we used to see with Ronaldo and Marcelo when they were at Real Madrid, or the wing forward comes inside and the wing back goes down the side of the field and cross the ball, and those boys are missing in action. When you're looking at that, I mean, you see, I see Aubrey and maybe Nazil himself at times would play over the half, but you hardly see they don't come down by the corner. And I think that is an element of our game that we could use and is missing. I was thinking to just in my head in that last game when it was 1-1 and Joven came off. Maybe Telfer could have gone wide from where he delivered the cross, and we could have introduced Brent Sam. Because the Puerto Ricans are not very tall, so let's get some balls coming across and see what happens.
But Hayden, going back to the comment about the wing backs, do you think that is for the want of the ability, or they are following coach's instructions? I haven't watched a couple training games. I want to believe that is what is being asked of them.
Well, I can't speak to that. One would wonder why, because here's the interesting thing. Over the 2 games, right? I have seen, again, I'm not saying my memory is 100% at this age, but I cannot say I have seen 5 crosses altogether come from the side of our field into that box. Yet, that is what gives us the goal against Puerto Rico. So, is it that we are not going to utilize that facility to get a goal? Because Levi, when he's on the left side, is not crossing the ball because he's on his right foot. And he, particularly in that Puerto Rico game, he comes back on the left foot, they're waiting on him to do it, and then they just take the ball. So he doesn't have the time to say, sometimes you have a wrong-footed player playing on a particular flank, and he goes down the side, he does a trick, and then he crosses the ball and swings with the other foot. I didn't see that happening a whole lot. Joven, on the other hand, is the same thing. They're coming to the edge of the 18 and looking to go inside. And that's the point that I was making. And I was thinking, at one point I saw him come to the edge of the 18, didn't go down the side of the box, and he is making a sign for somebody to overlap him. Well, of course, it didn't happen. Well, go down the side and you cross it. Telfer is not a short guy. He's not small. And I think we're not using that. What is the question I would like to ask, although I feel I know the answer? How are we expected to score? Other than Garcia comes down the side of the field, gets on the inside, gets back on his left foot, shoots to the far post, or beats the keeper on the first post. Come down the side of the field, come back on the left foot, lay a ball back across the box. What else?
Set play.
In my limited way, I think that because no, but here's the interesting thing too. I don't think that, of course, the team could be better, but I wouldn't say honestly it's a bad team. I think with a few changes here, I think the squad. I mean, yes, we're in transition, as Terry said, and his younger players. I don't feel younger players would have survived out there at all. I think that age group that we have there, that is what we could go. You have better players with the experience. Bring them and let them do the job. But as I say, lots to be done still. But it could be done. It could be done. All other things being equal, there is sufficient time to fix what needs to be fixed. And as I say, if it is that the players are following the coach's instructions, well, I would then one would have to question, whether or not this is what we should have and going to give us the best chance of success. But I don't think that the squad is a bad squad. It's not the best. I mean, we talk about development, and by now we're supposed to have players who know you. When you pick a player, he knows exactly what he has to do. And it's just the coach to guide him and for him to get some playing time and a chemistry between the players. But we don't have that because of the way we approach things in football in this country. What we have, I think we could still do something with it. I want to say something about the point you made about the players going back to the clubs. My understanding of it is, if you are a professional player, I don't think that I need 100 hours of practice with you to get you to understand this is what I need you to do. If we're going down the road, well, I accustomed doing something different in my club. Yeah, well, then I'm not calling you. Then you are not the one that I need. I'm going to call somebody who either their natural game is what I'm looking for, or somebody who is mature enough that when I say, yes, I know you're accustomed making this run out wide when you're playing for Genk or whoever. But today, based on what we have, I need you to maybe stay a little more central and let somebody else do that. You're a professional, I would think.
So
And
the
let your
coach has to
chance-
explain his ideas, I guess, clearly.
Yeah, I feel that's how it's supposed to be. So, you know.
I'm
And then
total
we have
agreement with you.
Yeah. And then we have a couple practices, you know, just a kind of rehearsal. But you're professional, I would think. But boy, we're talking about Trinidadians there, so.
Hayden, I want to thank you for this time that you spent with us.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine.
It is always a pleasure learning from the master and listening to the master. And I'm not talking about Lasana, I'm talking about you, because he here trying to push up himself like if he is, you know.
I say Flashy will get you everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you know how we roll. All right, Hayden.
Okay, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Well, yeah, we doing these interviews via phone call, and Lasana was running out of money. That's why we had to wrap it up. He said the man Abla.
I mentioned Hayden Martin as the TD of Fatima College. It'd be remiss of me not to say that he's most famous really for his work at St. Mary's College, where he just quite a lot of talented players. Lyndon Andrews, the Mose brothers, the Rocks, and so on.
You ain't called Shaka, boy. Shaka is how lowly this man have, you know.
The Hislops. I was getting to that.
You're getting to the lower ones now.
Pass through the system. So thanks to Mr. Martin for coming on and sharing some tactical. It's good to have some good tactical ideas in the pod.
You would never hear me have a bad word to say about Hayden Martin when I played for Fatima. When we won against the same team with those guys you called.
I don't
right?
think so.
Yeah, league champions. Cool yourself. When we won. On the field, I always used to wonder why St. Mary's was giving us trouble, because the players weren't that good, besides a couple of the guys that he called there. But having an opportunity to work with Hayden Martin, I realized coaching really counts. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. So you never hear me have a bad word to say about him, but he's a Fatima Pass student.
So we have with us now Sean Powder. He's the former director of the TTFA's TIPP scouting program in North America.
What TIPP stands for?
I mean, we're speaking about lacking penetration. We're speaking about St. Lucia withdrawal from the World Cup. And now we have the man from TIPP. So, Sean, good to have you on the Burdie and Barney this week.
It's good to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
No problem. And for everyone, Mr. Powder was the Wired 868 correspondent for the last two World Cup qualifiers. We're very grateful for his colorful commentary on spot. You know, talking about the Emperor's missing jockey shorts and all right.
Well, I'm grateful for an excellent editor. Without the editor, I wouldn't have been able to produce such eloquent words.
Take that, Barney.
Earl Best worked on your article. Earl Best is indeed a very good editor. Because it couldn't be Lasana you tried to say. Had to be Earl Best work on your article for you.
Tell us what you thought about this adventure. You're talking about the time of COVID and you're flying between countries. And what was the protocol like at these venues and so on, first of all? And the travel. What's the travel like?
Well, the travel from the U.S. into Dominican Republic was rather smooth. I mean, I was there in November, and I was here recently for the match. And I mean, the Dominicans have set up a very smooth system. You can fly in from the U.S. and you're not tested, but upon exit, if you're returning to the U.S., you have to get tested. And they have a MEDA, I think it's called a MEDA labs. And they have a lab at the airport. They have a testing facility at the airport for PCR tests. Within 5 hours, you're tested and you're able to leave. I mean, I went to a couple of tourist sites in Santo Domingo, and you had there were Russians there, there were Germans there, there were Dutch there, Italians. The Dominican Republic is rather open. That's why I was laughing. Maybe it's the new capital of the CFU, because I don't know I don't know how many countries were there playing games.
Yeah.
You know,
They sound almost as well structured as the Trinidad and Tobago immigration policy right now, which is we don't let you in. So it's working very, very smoothly.
yeah.
Unless you're coming on a boat from Venezuela, I suppose. But
yeah, as cases rise, we have a lockdown policy and no recreational activity.
yeah.
Well,
So
actually, recreation is allowed once you're on the beach.
Yeah.
You could play football.
You want to-
Yeah, you can play football.
Drinking is fine once it's not near to a football ground and there's no football present. Other than that, you're okay.
yeah.
It's a no sport policy. And what about flying into Puerto Rico? What was it like over there?
Well, leaving the Dominican Republic, you have to have a positive PCR result after the 26th of January. I guess the U.S. government required it. Negative, yeah, negative.
Negative is
PCR
positive
test.
these days, yeah.
Yes. So you can upload everything via an app. So I took a test in Dominican Republic. They emailed me a result. That result I was able to upload in Puerto Rico to our website that they have. That cleared me for transit because I had a negative result. And even though in Puerto Rico they have tables of men and women in white suits taking your data, they're mainly doing data entry on everybody. They take your result, they can upload it to the same website, and then it goes to the airlines. You can fly. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing how with technology, I mean, they have the testing, they have the ability to control the results and to communicate the results. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you're free to travel into the U.S. From the Dominican Republic and to the U.S. and other places. I mean, I think I'll test it again in June when I go to the Bahamas. But I know I have friends who are going to the Bahamas and traveling other places in the Caribbean. They don't seem to be having the problem that we have in Trinidad and Tobago, where you're locked out of the country.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little bit intimidating to me to at the airport with all these white coats. I mean, as if being at the airport isn't stressful enough already, you know.
You had a flight
until I found out what they were doing, I was quite shocked, to be honest, because you come off the plane and you see masked. Gloves and contamination suits. You're wanting to know if it's they have Ebola in Puerto Rico or something. And nobody was smiling. So they're just pointing in this direction, pointing in that direction. So that was a bit. You're correct. It was a bit stressful, but the technology and the ability to test made it very smooth once you figure out what the hell was going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and how did you enjoy the football? First of all, was it San Cristobal, right?
Yes, in San Cristobal, yes. Yeah, in San Cristobal.
Our first game of the campaign. What was that like?
First of all, my GPS was very flawed, so I ended up 40 minutes close to the game. I ended up in the mountains in a neighborhood on a gravel road with some locals laughing at me. Do you see a stadium anywhere here?
Thought they were looking at trying to find one of the air balls from the defense there. But go ahead.
So by the time I got to the game, the only way I knew there was a stadium is by the lights, because the stadium is literally on a road that you don't really you can't access. It's behind part of a very forested area. So you come down a hill, and you make a sharp left, and you're up into the stadium right away, almost into the bush. So and one way in, one way out.
They put Atobola and Stadium to shame, boy.
Yeah.
Not really. It had about the same number of persons there.
Yeah. But the atmosphere was good. The stadium, all that said, the stadium was very clean, very well maintained. I mean, a small parking lot, but I mean, it was spotless in the place. They had a small concession. Yeah. But the locals found it. The locals found it because there are quite a few locals there.
Okay.
And you had Presidente light and popcorn. Those were your two options at that's what you got at the concession.
Beers and popcorn. Wow.
Yeah, that was it. Very salty popcorn too. But to encourage you to buy some more beers, I imagine. But But yeah, the football part was, I mean, I don't know how much football we're into, but the Guyana game was, a series of mistakes.
Before you get into the game itself, let me just ask you: the playing surface, it was as bad as it looked on TV?
Yes, it was.
All right.
And 20 minutes up to 10, 15 minutes before the game, they were still watering it.
Wow.
They were still watering it. So
on TV, it looked hard and bumpy.
It was. They had the water cannons going, but like I said, since the field was elevated, I figure a lot of that just drained away. I mean, you probably you needed to have. I think even if they watered it excessively, they're still right because the field is so elevated on this plateau. You just could see all. I don't think they had proper stone around it and the proper construction to slow the drainage.
Right, yeah.
So basically, the water was being absorbed, and yet when you have that many trees around the entire perimeter, I mean, they need water. So all the water, I think, was quickly disappearing.
Yeah.
But they had some holes. I don't know where you get to the TV, but they had quite a few patches where they tried to infill with some grass. You could see a lot of circular areas where they tried to just fill in. Probably a couple of days before.
Interesting. You see, we don't really have the opportunity to ask, Mr. Fenwick, if he altered tactics based on the ground. Maybe that's why they went to Route 1. But the last time I tried to get close to Mr. Fenwick to ask him some questions, it didn't go well for everybody, But there might have been a feasible reason for the tactics. What do you think, Barney?
I have nothing to say. I have absolutely nothing.
No, maybe this surface.
Seriously, no, yeah. That could have played into it. They would have known the venue beforehand. Probably would have done the due diligence and heard that the surface wasn't the best and decided to go Route 1. However, if that was the case, then your personnel should reflect that as well. So, and then your practice games leading up to it should reflect that as well. So, yeah, it's a possibility. I don't know on a scale of 1 to 10, on how much that really played into it, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So, would it have been a possibility in Miami as well?
I was
Orlando. Orlando.
I was asked about the Guyana game. Thanks very much.
Horrible surface in Orlando as well. But anyway, let's go back. So what was the atmosphere, game time, and so on? I suppose, as you mentioned in the report, that Fenwick offered a sort of running commentary in his own match. He's a very vocal coach.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't. I think for sure the grass in the technical area was worn after the match. Because if you thought the rest of it was bumpy, there wasn't much grass left in the technical area. Listen, every coach has their style, and I think he communicates a lot. He communicates a lot. It's just. In San Cristobal, you're so close to the pitch, you can hear every word he's saying virtually.
Yeah.
So the problem is it's the same words over and over. So I don't know what his I have no idea what his tactical plan was. But some of those words didn't seem to be much, closer than close is just that. How close can you get? If you say close 25 times, to the players, I don't know if it's gonna, how the impact is gonna be. Let's put it that way.
Well, the players, it may not hold relevance to you and I, but if the players reacted to it, I suppose he could say, well, he has a certain way of communicating with them.
Listen, the players certainly want to win. I see. For me, I see players that I feel I sense there's a bit of a tussle there in how we want to play and how the coach wants them to play and the players. I mean, there's always going to be tension between the coach and players because you're going to tell a player to drop. We're going to tell him to play a little differently. But I don't get the sense when I look at the team that everybody's on board with whatever the game plan is. That's just, there's just a little tension there. The facial expressions, some, players, they're not pouting, but you could tell when players are happy to play. And I don't see that type of, I don't see that throughout 11 players, but I see players being professional. And they're being very professional and sticking to their task. But when you look across the field, you don't see smiles. When I think when players are enjoying their football, even when certain things happen, even when they're winning, they're scoring goals. It's not like, the players know that they're not euphoric about how they receive the goals. I don't think some of the goals we scored, players will be putting in their highlight film. after Guyana,
Yeah. And the Guyana players themselves, were they just shell shocked really after the first 2 goals flew in? What was the feeling from their camp?
The other first 2 goals, I think they kind of threw it in. They didn't have a lot of belief after that. They really didn't. I mean, a lot of Ghana had quite a few people in the not in their technical area, but up in the stands who were officials from the federation. I mean, and they really had high expectation. I mean, they felt they truly underperformed. They were very, very frustrated and surprised with the result. They felt that the team was going to do much better than this. And I mean, some of that may come to the fact that, listen, we didn't outplay them in terms of how we got the goals. We didn't football them off the pitch. Levi's first goal was, it's a good goal. I'm happy to get it, but it's an error. Something should have been easily managed. Telfa's goal, by the defender. Telfa's goal was goalie error. So from their standpoint, they felt it was 3 mistakes, and that's something that they could have dealt with better. Yeah,
well, the group is perched in a certain way now, because if Guyana beats St. Kitts, it throws the whole group open again, because it means Guyana could actually sneak in according to how, if I guess Trinidad and St. Kitts draw or something like that, So they aren't out of it yet. Did you get a chance to speak to either coach after that game? Was there any sort of a press conference or anything?
No. I mean, when I got there in San Cristobal, I think I saw Sean. There was a bit of miscommunication with where the press would be, and then where people represented Wired 868 would be.
Don't take any nonsense, Sean. No, don't take any nonsense.
So I mean, initially the officials there, the Dominican officials from the Federation instructed me to be down closer to the pitch. But when I saw on the way down there, I spoke with Sean Fuentes, and he said, "No, we're going to try and do something after the game, but we want you upstairs. And I said, "No problem." So yeah. So I went upstairs, and I had good access to everything they need to have. But no, they didn't. I didn't. When I came back downstairs at the end, it didn't seem like there was any setup for any press. I think, from my understanding, it seems that the Federation was prepared to do some. They had pre-planned to do some just video.
Yeah. Their own press, whatever they call it, where Fuentes asks questions, as opposed to journalists asking questions.
Precisely. That's the. I think they were at that point, and some of that is maybe, I guess, traveling away from home and not having a full setup of the facilities at the location.
The Guyana Football Federation, by the way, they had virtual press conferences that Guyana journalists could attend from back in Georgetown. And in fact, I even got an invitation. So I actually attended their pre-match and post-match. It's a pity we are not as advanced as Guyana. But
yeah, well, you could see that in also our immigration policy for nationals.
I expecting a call after this interview. I just waiting for this call.
We're trying to ship Barney out right now, so that's why he's kind of squirming over here.
I'm just waiting for this call after this interview.
Yeah, in this country now, we need permission to leave the country permission to come back in. Welcome to North Korea. And,
Also, we done with sports. The two all I just want to know. We done with sports. I can leave this chat.
Okay, so we're going to Puerto Rico now, Sean.
Hold on. We
sorry.
Puerto Rico
Sorry,
yet.
Barney has a question.
Yeah. You so want to be on the border. We want Puerto Rico yet. Tell me about the energy levels of the players during that Guyana game. You saw us as being, matching them totally. People were winded. We have a limited view on the TV here. You were seeing when the ball goes out of play, how people, the body language, that sort of thing. You spoke about the enthusiasm, but now from an energy level, from a fitness level and thing, how did we look?
I would say we're not. The play. Honestly, I think the players. Our players played down to the competition in terms of energy, intensity. We may have been slightly fitter, but no one was rushing to get the throw-ins, to get the ball back into play. Even the free kick that we scored, and everything was sort of pedestrian. So I just don't think that. I think we played down to the competition, and particularly if you look at how the second half went. We should have had another gear up 3-0. You thought you would have seen something different in terms of how we played. I just don't see that sort of energy level or drive yet. I mean, it's Fenwick's second game, and he has a lot to do to get the players going. He's into his third game now. But by then, his second game, I think there's a lot that has to happen because he's working with a lot of home-based local players. Then he's bringing in players from abroad who's got to get accustomed to his tone and his motivation techniques quickly. So I think that's going to take a little time.
Okay.
I think that's going to take a little time. But if you're asking me if I see warriors out there, I don't think for what some of those players can do at their clubs, and I've seen them do before, I don't think they're at that level yet of passion. I think but certainly they're going to get there. They're going to have to get there, to beat St. Kitts and to deal with Bahamas.
Yeah. And what about in Puerto Rico in terms of the same energy levels and enthusiasm and so on? How did we look then? And now we face a different challenge.
I think we were higher. I do think we were. I think we were higher. I think the intensity. I think the team expected a better game. I think they started off that way, where there was a lot more possession, I believe, at the beginning. And I think they came out with a different mindset in that game.
Okay.
But the team also, to the other issue about what Barney just asked about fitness, I think the team looked a little. They got tired faster. I think the turnaround was tough for players not playing all the time, and not for all, but certainly for some. You could see some players did tire.
I have I've been hearing whispers from friends in Puerto Rico.
Barney doesn't have any friends in Puerto Rico, sure. Barney barely has friends in Trinidad.
Well, the friends in Puerto Rico could have whispered to friends in Arima or somewhere else.
Whispers travel. But I've been hearing whispers from my friends in Puerto Rico, where, hablo un poco de español, right? That we actually did a double session the day before the game. A session in the morning of the game, dependent on what it is, isn't harmful,
Like a video session or something, I mean?
Or if it's an activation session or a stretching, whatever. Very short
exactly.
Session, that isn't harmful. But what I was hearing, whispers from friends in Puerto Rico, is that it was 2 full sessions the day before the game. Now, when you add that to the fact that we played Thursday night, correct me, Lasana? Thursday night? Yeah. That we played Thursday night, that we traveled Thursday night, which meant that we went to sleep late. We and for the hours that you lose sleeping before 12, the hours, it doesn't make, just sleeping longer doesn't get you back the type of rest that you needed. So having traveled, played the night, traveled late, got in the next day, trained the evening, then a double session the next day, and then you're going to play. What you've really done there, if this is true, what you've really done there is fatigued yourself.
No, absolutely. And let me tell you, the fitness, the football part, you're 100% correct. And I agree. The thing that I think you're saying, but you're not elaborating, is that travel from San Juan, from Santo Domingo to San Juan, then San Juan to even either Agudelo or Mayaquez was not an easy trip for them. I don't know if they got a charter or how they did it from Santo Domingo to Agudelo, but it wouldn't have been an easy trip, and then there would have been a coach ride in there.
I thought we would have been better served traveling the next day, sleeping after the game, sleeping as late as 9, 10 if possible, and then travel midday the next day, and get there, relax, and then we do what we have to do. And there isn't, well, in my limited coaching knowledge, there isn't much that you're going to be able to change between Thursday to Saturday that you could really work on. Most of that change has to be, board work and conversation and that sort of thing, video work.
Exactly.
So
but I'll say this, being around, and this is prior to obviously Fenwick's involvement, there seems to be a philosophy around our teams, because I saw this with the under-17 and the 20s, where not only do they like to, I don't know if it's the physio information, because these could be different physios, because I don't know who the physios were. They seem to like to do double sessions before. We seem to like to do double sessions before the games, and not only that, we don't always just do a walk through the morning of the match. Sometimes they like to do a little running. And that's been my experience with the under-17 and the 20, which was quite shocking to me, because you have a match the next day, and you're gonna have a match in 2 or 3 days. But our practice has been to do it in my limited involvement with the under-17s and 20 and now with the senior team. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. But I mean, I'm not a physio and I'm not a coach. I don't know what levels my players are. I'm not testing them.
Well, as you said, physio. Dr. Oba Gulston always gets on me with this one.
We're gonna get a call from Oba.
We can get a call from Dr. Gulston. The TTFA generally does not hire physios. They hire medics, and they put under the name physio. Which is like I don't know, calling
Lasana journalist.
That'd be a very bad analogy, but you know what I mean? They're not trained or licensed or whatever it is. So in fact, they are not physiotherapists at all. They're just medics who some of them did. Well, I mean, I don't want to besmirch these men who are working, but all the same, they generally speaking are not trained physiotherapists. But other than that, I take your point. In Puerto Rico, this time, 0-0 at the half, so it's a different type of game. And we came out in the second half, and to the credit, we actually took the lead despite being under pressure for a lot of the first half. So what do you see then in terms of how they responded to the pressure?
We're not talking about the first half at all. You just cut the game into 45 minutes. You're not talking about the first half at all.
You can talk about how they responded to Puerto Rico. Both teams went at each other in the first half, and also how we took on that challenge, let's say, from what you saw.
It was hard to decipher what we were trying to do. Other than to, as soon as anybody got the ball, is to find Levi. So, you're looking at energy levels, you're looking at sort of the purpose, you're looking at runs off the ball. None of it seemed to matter, because at the end of the day, the goal was just to find Levi. Whether there were 2 men marking him or 1. So, you had Phillips and Poon and Highland, I think, working hard in the midfield. But, it didn't seem like it had much, none of it seemed like any purpose to really move the team forward other than to find Levi at some point. So to look at how, and I think for us, Puerto Rico kind of defended that way and we attacked that way for the first half. And I think that's why I thought 0-0 was a fair result at the beginning, even though I think they had some decent chances. I think Frender made a great save on a free kick and a free kick there, and he commanded his box. I think if anything, he was the highlight for me in the first half. how he played. I just, we weren't really doing much. But the midfield was working. We had possession, and there was sort of an ebb and flow. I think the first half may have ended maybe fairly equal in terms of possession.
Okay.
Even though, and I think we started stronger in terms of holding on to the ball at the beginning of the half. I mean, I was very hopeful when we started the game. I thought we were going to play less direct.
Okay.
But it didn't turn out that way.
And the second half, we saw some character there from the Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, I think the change in was bringing on Marquette really. I think the players themselves had a little more swagger because they felt, for one, we were going to have the ball more, and they thought more was possible in terms of being creative and to be dynamic. So I felt that he really put some energy into the game, and I think it helped the whole team.
Yeah.
It helped the whole team.
I personally think that Marquette brings out the best in Punandran, in that they both like playing the short passes and looking for the return ball and that sort of thing, keeping possession. So I think every time he is introduced, I saw it in the brief part of the USA game when they were together, and also in this game, he brings the best out of Punandran there.
I agreed.
You spoke about Frenderup's first half save of the free kick, but fine. To me the save of the header was top draw, and nobody speaks about that. So my TV not as big as some people would. So I know if my view is skewed.
Well, I guess we historically we're never that good in the air, other than Dennis scoring to get us to the World Cup. So I guess we're not paying attention to too many headers. We're looking at the ball. But to your point, you're right. It was a good save. It was a very good save.
Okay. Did Puerto Rico? They didn't appear to panic when they went behind. It was just more of the same. Did our gameplay change from what you saw?
No, but the one thing I'll tell you, Puerto Rico, and you said the key word, they did not panic. They were very convinced in what they were going to do. Very convinced and very confident with what they wanted to do and how they were going to play. There was no panic, no intense argument amongst themselves. They really felt comfortable and knew what they wanted to do. I mean, I think I would have liked to see us going up one do a little bit more. I think we allowed them to be too comfortable with the ball. I think we had one or two chances after to go up two, but we didn't capitalize on those.
And then Joven got injured as well, and had to come.
Yeah, Joven got injured, and I think not too long after, I'm not sure what minute Highland got injured, and I mean Highland was a huge part in both games because he is really the on-field coach. I mean, he's really orchestrating everything. So I think losing him was a huge part of it also. Yeah. Even though it was later on in the game.
In the match,
yeah. But and when if you have Highland on and then you had Kuhn and you're trying to with Muckett when you're trying to push for a win, you kind of need Highland to keep them organized. Because he was doing such a good job of. I mean, his communication to me on the field is exceptional. It's really exceptional.
On closing, tell us what you saw though as the bright spot that we could take from these two qualifiers. What out there could make us feel a little bit enthused about what's to come.
Well, Levi is scoring. Levi scored for us, which I think.
It's very rare, by the way, yeah.
Yeah, that's why Levi scored for us, and I think that's a good sign, and I think that show the fact that I think he's a focal point in the attack under Fenwick. I think his confidence is good. I mean, I've seen him plays, before he went to Israel and before he's at AEK now in Greece. I mean, he looked very confident. He was running at people with abandon. I mean, there's no time he picked up the ball and didn't try to run at people, which is he had defenders backing up. I mean, even if it was, and oftentimes he didn't have players to connect with the player 1-2. He was going on his own. So to me, that's encouraging that he has that level of confidence in himself. After leaving Holland and then I think he was in Israel before. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something positive. I think Frienderup is a good option for us, a goalkeeper. And I read today that Philadelphia Union signed Ranjit Singh, so he'll be back in the MLS. So if I don't know if he'll have the number one, we could have some nice competition for the goalkeeper position, which is good. I think Phillips is a good addition. I think Phillips played well. The North American TIPP program identified him, so we identified him for Derek King's team, and he was going to be an integral part of that team before the COVID.
There you go.
So I think he's a good addition. And I think Poon Angaran, who we weren't sure. He was another player we had in the pool for the U20s. That he was in Argentina. We didn't know what level football he was playing regularly. I think he showed well for himself. So if you can bring Mourinho into that mix, for me, what I think has to solve is that defense. I think we have a good pool of midfielders. You have players. You can still bring in players like JP, Jean-Paul Rochefort. You could still have guys like Akeem Garcia could play up front. So I think we have a nice pool. I'm very encouraged. Depends on how the coach can, do his thing and his technical staff mix these guys together. The only thing that still worries me is against a good team. I don't think our defense is. Our goalkeeping is good, but we can't go with the same back four we've been going with those 3 games. I'll include Orlando.
Yeah.
I think Jones wasn't there because he was injured, who was in Orlando, but he wasn't in these 2 games. He played right back. He played in the midfield actually in Orlando. Yeah. But I think my most concern is our back four at this time. And figuring that out, which I think is going to force our style of play. But I'm certainly encouraged going to the Bahamas.
Okay. Well, there you go. And Sean, of course, I don't think Barney knows he's an Arsenal supporter. So if he's encouraged about
why you have to bring that up? Barney?
Whoa.
It was only 3-0 today. Jesus Christ.
This puts a serious spin on everything you said so far.
If an Arsenal supporter is encouraged, then there's something to be encouraged about.
No, if an Arsenal supporter is encouraged,
they grasp at straws is what they're saying, buddy.
They just be encouraged every game with nothing to support.
I'm encouraged after a 3-0 loss to Liverpool, who couldn't score or beat nobody. I'm still encouraged.
We appreciate the enthusiasm, I'm sure.
If nothing else. But while before we wrap up, I just want to say, right, since we're in this mood of self-promoted, Lasana.
Why did succeed?
Oh, gosh. And then you talking about TIPP. I'd just like to let you know that a guy named Wayne Shepherd suggested Michel Punanjaran to Justin Reed. You may know that guy concerning a guy named Wayne Shepherd suggested him for the U20 for you all to take a look at him. So.
Check his spam folder, Sean.
Let me see.
Look at your spam. Look at the spam.
So I wanna say hats off to Wayne Shepherd.
Let me ask you, if there are any more friends of Wayne Shepherd who have more players, please send them our way. Even if they're in Puerto Rico.
That Wayne Shepherd guy, right now, I think he's working on some from Venezuela, right? Some players from Venezuela.
All right. Sean, great to have you here and to share your experience from that adventure and more adventures to come.
Yes, thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thanks a lot, and all the best to Noah. I hope he recovers sufficiently from whatever injury he had and has a good season ahead of him. This is a real important year for him.
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
And national level. So Wishing him the best.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, Sean.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care, guys. All the best.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Wayne Shepherd. Michel Pudangeron. Yeah. I mean,
So what do you think,
about
Barney?
Wayne Shepherd and Michel Pudangeron.
How to break this day? I'll try to be gentle. Nobody cares about Wayne Shepherd.
Yeah,
Barney.
but Michel Pudangeron, though. Now, listening to Hayden Martin and listening to Sean Powder speak about, Levi being the focal point. Levi plays in a 4-2-3-1 for AEK Athens. He plays the same inverted forward, right? We playing a 4-3-3 and we using him inverted. Basically the same thing, right? The difference is, and at this level, when people realize, and any defender worth his salt, that's the first thing you would look at. Any wing back, you look to see, was the player you're coming up against, was his strongest foot, even if it didn't get
We scout.
dossier, yeah, Y scout, we scout, telling you these things. You would early in the piece you would know this. So when you are sending him on his weaker foot or sending him on the stronger foot with support to block, the thing that is going to keep you honest and keep you guessing is if there's a wing back overlapping, or if there's some, or maybe even an attacking midfielder coming on a short overlap on the outside. We need to do something else to open up the possibilities for Levi. I have no problem with Levi playing inverted. I was in a discussion on a chat group recently. No big.
Why did
no
you
big,
say it again?
No big chat group. Just people just talking.
Why did you say it again? Go on.
And I made mention of the fact that the structures that are in place or the structures that are not in place to support Levi, it's predictable he's coming inside, but if you have somebody going on the outside of him, somebody taking up that other lane, if you cut the field into 5 vertical lanes, he's coming from lane 5 into 4. Somebody has to be going from 4 into 5 to allow that wing back and that covering center back to have something to think about. If you don't do that, then it's very one-dimensional and it's going to be stopped. And building on that conversation too, even if it is we play him conventionally as a left side attacker, and we still don't have somebody underlapping, that is if you picture that now as lanes 1 and 2, coming in lane 2, then you're still going to have the same problem. So we need to have the structures around to support what it is we're trying to do to give the opponent something to think about.
All this lane 1 and with lane 2, you are jockey in a past life, boy.
So why you couldn't say 100 meters runner? Why you couldn't say a sprinter? I had that kind of sprinter shape. You didn't see me.
I see a jockey across the table from him. But yeah. You understand what you're saying?
You understand a fact.
You look at Robin, for instance, who a lot of people would say, he's going to cut in on his left foot.
Everybody knew he was going in on his left foot.
Yeah. And yet he was still able to be effective because of the movement of
that player outside.
That'd be Philip Lahm, I suppose, at times for Munich, going on his right kind of thing.
Why you can call a Real Madrid player?
His best days, of course, were at Bayern Munich,
Hey, everybody who plays for Real Madrid, best days are at Real Madrid.
Well, if he were to like a good attacking combination, you have Marcus Rashford and Luke Shaw on the left.
Whoa.
As I said, Rashford tucking in and Luke Shaw going on the outside.
We're talking about people who win stuff, right? let me keep it real, right? So, Coach Martin made mention of Marcelo and Ronaldo. That's a fantastic combination to describe exactly that, But seriously though, the structures that need to support, that could be your plan A. That could be where you go into your sweet spot. But you have to give the opponent something else to think about. And I just think if we even if it is we decide to play what I call laser fence football, where the back four reach to the halfway line.
That's laser fence. I like laser tag, or you're going for laser fair. I just
No, I went specifically for laser fence because that's something that they use for dogs to keep them in their yards without walls, right? Beyond you and the technology. But anyhow, if we go in for that, where the back line gets to the halfway line and they do not advance any further. All right, the wing back can't go. Understand that. You want to be safe. You want to make sure you have numbers back. Fine. One of your attacking midfielders could make that run outside. It could make that run outside. And if they make the run outside and the play breaks down, then you ask Levi to just drop inside and take up their position on the defensive side until we could form back up. But something has to be done. We can't be one-dimensional like that.
Because now we're trying, of course, not to be stretched as well. Well, I mean, I think two important things in this next group, this next round of matches. One, I think we probably faced the most experienced coach in terms of Dave Saturan at Puerto Rico. I don't think the Kittian coach, he's from a great football nation, Argentina, but
boy.
He doesn't have much of a CV behind him anyway.
He has no CV. We looked it up. What's his name? I want everybody to go and look up this man's CV. I don't understand.
His CV is his passport. He was born in Buenos Aires, a place of a football, capital of football. So that's a CV right there. Passport. So maybe the football will be a little bit more open. Who knows? Against it was. I don't know. I don't know what we.
Or you mean open in that they may not be set up defensively?
As structured and as
probably.
So and the other X factor here is Kevin Molino and his bag of goals. If he hopefully brings it when he comes, and how they fit Molino into the system is going to be very, very important too.
Listener, I think we have enough going forward with fit Molino joining the squad to get past St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts. However, there's the X factor that you have to add to it. St. Kitts, despite the coach not being as storied as some other coaches, the fact is, he is a man coming from a footballing nation, telling these players probably things that they have not heard. Definitely, they haven't heard it like how he has said it.
Yeah.
Right?
Understand his motivational speeches are quite good.
And they have won. And when you winning brings a feeling of invincibility. Winning makes you go that extra mile. What we have to be prepared to do, quality-wise, I am almost sure we outstrip them. What we have to be prepared for in that game is to fight. We have to. So I'm hoping, and it falls nicely for us. That game didn't fall in this window where we are not at 100% fitness. Seasons would have started. The MLS season would have started. Players would have gotten into a better rhythm. Seasons would have been ending as well. Yeah. And we have like those guys in Europe. Or that guy in Europe. We only have one guy in Europe.
That is true. We have Bato. We have Levi Garcia as well. Yeah.
Right. They may be able.
Daniel Phillips. We have a couple guys, possibly maybe some more coming from Britain.
So actually, I'm going to correct myself. They should be able to come home and join up with the squad and train. So we should be peaking. We should be hitting top gear there. At that time. So that falls nicely for us. That game could have been very tricky if it fell in this first window for us. Where it falls now, I think it will work out good for us. Coach Fenwick would have had more time with more actual time with the players to formulate a better plan. We would have had the use of the We Scout. I don't know is the correct pronunciation. I say Y Scout. It's potato for me.
And it's true that this season in England, for certain, it ends in early May. So we should be able to get those guys.
I was confident that I was right,
Yes,
Lasana,
yeah,
because
you
my
stumble
team
across something there.
my team is normally in the business end of the season. we still around. So
You stumble across something there.
No, I didn't stumble. I walked confidently. Yeah, so Trinidad should be in a good place, and we're going to get past that.
Mm-hmm.
We need to put on our scoring boots because we can't afford to draw.
But to be fair, I don't think that someone who trusts the delivery of their message spends the whole 90 minutes on the field shouting in instructions from the touchline.
There's two ways to look at it. I could talk from my own personal experience. I used to stand up at the side of the field and shout for 90 minutes. All right? In the last year or two, I don't do that. Because I've come to understand...
COVID-19, no football?
Yeah, idiot. But in the last year or two, last footballing year or two, God, I didn't think I had to explain this, but the St. Mary's you went to, so I'll break it down to small pieces for you. Yeah.
Yeah, they said they feel shouting now, like a get a case, but...
for real, eh? But yeah. And my reason for that was I thought the players didn't understand. Yeah, but the players didn't understand fully because my delivery wasn't what it's supposed to be. Right? I understood. They look like they understood when we doing it in practice. But then at the game now, your nerves and then you're seeing things. But as you get comfortable with what you're doing, you no longer do that. There are some other coaches who just hyped. Who have to be the players
nervous energy.
Yeah, the players doing the right things and everything, but they just have to be there. You know, they kicking the ball, they shadow kicking everything. One of those two camps, Coach Fenwick will fall in.
Yeah,
I know where I fell and I know what I needed to adjust. So when I am coaching now and I say something, I get up to say something. It is something that really requires that injection of information. Because to me, if I kept talking all the time, I know players will go, all right now, Sheppy, and we sign you off.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Been there.
I didn't want to say done that, but yeah, so I don't know which camp he falls in, but you have to be you. So if it is in the camp where it's nervous energy and everything, then nobody can fault him for that. If it's in the other camp that I was in, right? That was Camp Sheppy. then you need to adjust that. You need to work on it and you need to adjust that and you adjust that by adjusting your delivery.
Okay. So we hope that we are delivering this podcast to you now on Wednesday. We look to VAR again, but hopefully no hiccups.
Listen to me. I just hope Lasana don't press the brown button again and erase everything.
So, listeners, good to be back. Hope you all enjoy having us back. This is Burdie. There's your cue.
That's what you figure is. This is Barney.
And we out.
Bam.
No, well, I'm hearing it during. I take long to get our first ring now.
We never call nobody.
I got nervous now. The long. I'm Barney here with me.
How you good? You good?
Good. How are you?
Right. I'm good. This man lied.
Of course.
It's kind of unparliamentary language, you call that.
It has nothing to do with anything pushing back other than the man never on time for anything.
Mr. Speaker, I move on motion.
This is what I'm working with, boy. It's ridiculous. A professional like me having to come down to this level.
Let me introduce the man now.
Where my agent?
Let me introduce the man now.
Go ahead.
All right. Good.
Mine? Oh, yeah. All right, cool. Hear my voice sound like boy deep like Barry White.
Yo.
Let your hair down.
Suriname would be one of those teams though that has its mascots in the starting 11. Nigel Hasselbank, he looks like a big dumpling. Wait. I don't want nobody shame there, Barney. But
No.
Glory with legs.
Hey. I think that one was good.
Band in Trinidad.
Yo.
Yeah. Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
God damn it. Hey.
Bad boy.
You know we crazy.
Hey, turn on the radio, tell me why you're here. You hear the use of soca gon' clear this, yeah. Some people what we quit, but we just don't care. 'Cause I'm a devil of